Welcome back to the Sports Chamber Podcast. With the NFL season approaching within the next week, it's time for me to give a full NFL season preview. I'm going to give the divisional rankings for all 8 divisions, the playoff rankings that I think will happen, and big events I think are going to happen during the 2019-2020 season. Starting off with the AFC East, in 4th place I have the Miami Dolphins, who I think will not be very good this year, going 4-12. The Dolphins' main problem is their quarterback situation. They don't know if they want to start Ryan Fitzpatrick, who has been a journeyman quarterback most of his career and is very old, this quarterback out of Harvard who is very smart, or if they want to start Josh Rosen, the cocky white boy who they traded for in the NFL draft with the 2nd round pick. I think this will derail their season, along with them not having many talent, having some of the worst talent of all the NFL teams, and they will have an atrocious season going 4-12, tanking for Justin Herbert out of Oregon. At 3rd, I have the Buffalo Bills going not much better, 5-11. Yes, the Bills have their quarterback in Josh Allen, who played very well last season, and they do have a very stingy defense, but their offense isn't very good, and they only have LaShawn McCoy as their main threat on offense, and he is getting up there in age, and I think they will not be able to put up enough points to be able to win more than 5 games. In 2nd place, this may surprise many people, but I have the New York Jets going 9-7. I've always liked Sam Darnold. With them getting Le'Veon Bell, improving their offensive line, getting C.J. Mosley, the development of Jamal Adams, drafting Quentin Williams, and improving that defensive line, I think that will be enough for the Jets to go 9-7 and shock the world and make the NFL playoffs. And then obviously, at 1st place, I have the New England Patriots going 11-5. They are in the easy division in football. They do have arguably the best quarterback of all time, the best head coach of all time, the best system in NFL history, and it will continue this year with them going 11-5. Moving on to the AFC West. In 4th place, I have John Gruden's led Oakland Raiders going 5-11. The Raiders trading away Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack has led their team to having hardly any talent, and this offseason, John Gruden had to make a move, and he traded a 3rd and a 5th round pick for Antonio Brown. But little known, here comes training camp, and Antonio Brown has a helmet issue. He wants to wear his own helmet, and he has a foot issue, so he might miss some games. I don't trust Derek Carr as a quarterback. The average casual fan cannot even name 2 people on that Raiders defense, and I don't think there's enough talent for them to win 5 games. Honestly, 5 games is being generous. Next, at 3rd, I have the Broncos going 7-9 with Joe Flacco. I think this might be a little Joe Flacco redemption season. The Broncos defense is still good with Chris Harris and Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. They just don't have enough offensive weapons besides Emmanuel Sanders and Phillip Lindsay to win more than 7 games. I think they'll be competitive, but just not quite with a winning record. At 2nd, I have the Chargers, led by 37-year-old Phillip Rivers, going 9-7. Just barely squeaking into that wild card spot. Melvin Gordon holding out will probably hurt them at the beginning of the season, but they do have a decent backup in Austin Eckler, who is a scat back out of the backfield. They do have good wide receivers in Keenan Allen and Tyrell Williams, a beefy O-line, a good defensive line with Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram III, good linebackers. The injury of Derwin James will hurt this team too, which will make them barely being able to squeak in the playoffs instead of having a double-digit win season. And then at 1st place, I have Patty Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs with Andy Reid at the helm. Their defense has finally improved with the signing of Tyrann Mathieu and their offense is still going to be very good with them getting another quick receiver in Mecole Hardman out of the draft, along with Tyreek Hill. Losing Kareem Hunt will hurt them, but they do have a decent backup in Damian Williams. Of course, they have the now best tight end in football now that Rob Gronkowski has retired and Travis Kelce. They still have their beefy O-line, and I think that will be enough to get them the first seed in the AFC. Moving on to the AFC South. In fourth place, I have the Tennessee Titans going 5-11. Yes, the Titans do have a very good defense led by Kevin Byard, and they do have a two-headed monster in Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis in the backfield, but I do not trust Marcus Mariota at all. And I think he will struggle this season, and the Titans as a whole will struggle and finish 5-11. In third place, I have the Colts. I think Andrew Luck retiring will severely hurt this team's playoff chances and aspirations, and they will go 6-10. Jacoby Brissett will not lead the Indianapolis Colts to the playoffs. Yes, I know they have the beefy O-line led by Quentin Nelson, and they have Eric Ebron, who had a bounce-back season last year, and they have T.Y. Hilton, and they have the Defensive Rookie of the Year in Darius Leonard, but Jacoby Brissett is not Andrew Luck. And their schedule will be even harder than last season because they made the playoffs last year. And I think it will not be enough to overcome the loss of Andrew Luck. In second place, I have the Jaguars going 7-9. With Nick Foles at quarterback, that is a massive upgrade over Blake Bortles, who was trash the past 4 seasons. And even with Bortles being atrocious, I think many people forgot that just 2 seasons ago, the Jaguars had the number 1 defense in the league, and Bortles beat Big Ben and put 45 points up on that Steelers defense in the playoffs and beat them, and had a 10-point lead in the AFC Championship game in New England versus Tom Brady. Unfortunately for them, they could not hold that lead, and Tom Brady came back to beat them. And I think you will see much of the same this year with Nick Foles being able to game manage and that defense being able to close. But not good enough to overcome who I have in first place, the Houston Texans, led by Deshaun Watson. The Texans have that two-headed monster screaming off the edge in J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. If Jadeveon Clowney holds out, their defense will be damaged, but it will still be very, very, very good. Deshaun Watson is a very accurate passer from the pocket, and if need be, can get a little loose if he has to. And I think this year they will finally get him some protection so he is not taking as many hits as he has the previous 2 seasons. Next to the AFC North. In fourth, I have the Bengals. Andy Dalton, we've seen this for many years. He is just an average quarterback at best. AJ Green being injured will severely hurt this offense. Defenses can just put 8 people in the box to stop Joe Mixon, who will be their only threat on offense because people are not scared of Andy Dalton beating them. Next, in third place, I have the Baltimore Ravens going 8-8, taking a step back from last season in which they made the playoffs. I think NFL defenses will be able to figure out how to stop Lamar Jackson, who has not proven to be able to consistently, accurately pass from the pocket. He has shown just to be a scrambling quarterback, a la RG3. Yes, their running game is good, and they have a top 3 defense, but I think that's only good enough to get them a 500 record. And then at second, you have the very hyped up Cleveland Browns, who have not made the playoffs for 21 years. I think people forgot about that. I think people need to slow their roll. I do have the Browns going 8-8, but that is mainly because they have so much talent. I still think they are very dysfunctional, and they will not be able to clutch it out and make that final push to make the playoffs. They do have Baker Mayfield, They did make the key additions of Odell Beckham Jr. and Olivier Vernon from my Giants. They did lose offensive linemen, which will come back to bite them later on in the season. Their defense does look good with their D-line, having Myles Garrett and Olivier Vernon coming off the edge. On offense, they have weapons such as Odell, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, David Njoku, with Baker Mayfield tossing them that rock. I think you give them a few years so they can get their chemistry up before they make the playoffs. And lastly and first, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers going 9-7. I think a big storyline not many people are talking about this year is this Big Ben's last year? I think it could very well be. I think he will give it his all this year. The Steelers lost Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell and have said that they have had the cleanest offseason with the least amount of drama. I think James Conner will continue to improve off of last season. Juju, we know what he is. He's a very good receiver. When you look at the Steelers' defense, they are very good at rushing the passer with Cameron Hayward coming off the edge. But I do think their secondary will struggle for a lot of this season and will be their Achilles heel once the playoffs come around. I do think that Devin Bush was a very key addition for them with the 10th pick in the draft and will show during the season, with me predicting him to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Moving on to the NFC. In the NFC North, at 4th place, I have the Detroit Lions going 5-11. They still have Matthew Stafford at quarterback. They had a good rookie running back last year in Kerryon Johnson. They have a good wide receiver in Kenny Galladay. Their defense really only consists of Damon Harrison and Darius Slay. They don't have much talent besides them on their defense, and I think they will not be able to stop too many people and will go 5-11. In 3rd place, I have the Minnesota Vikings going 8-8. A couple years ago, when the Vikings signed Kirk Cousins to that fully guaranteed contract, I knew it was too much because he was in my division and I knew what kind of quarterback he was. He's a stat-stuffing quarterback. He has never won anything. He will give you all the stats you want. He will give you your 5,000 yards, your 35 touchdowns, your good touchdown to interception ratio, your Pro Bowl, possibly even an All-Pro. But he will not give you W's, and that's what you need. And I think the Vikings will learn that the hard way this season. Next, in 2nd place, I have the Green Bay Packers going 9-7. They finally gave Aaron Rodgers improvements to his defense. The last time Aaron Rodgers had a good defense, he went and won the Super Bowl over the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2010. He finally has that defense, so I think he will get back in the playoffs with a wild card and go 9-7. And in 1st place, I have the Chicago Bears going 10-6. I think the Bears will have a similar season as to last year with more improvement from Mitch Trubisky. They still have a good running game with Tariq Cohen as the ultimate scat back. Mitch Trubisky can run if he needs to. I think his passing needs to improve, and I think it will. And they still have that animal on defense in Khalil Mack, along with other very, very, very capable linebackers, such as Leonard Floyd and Roquan Smith. And I think they will have the best defense in the league this year. Moving on to the NFC South. In 4th place, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going 3-13. I think the Bucs will be the worst team by record in the NFL this season. I'm not a buyer of Jameis Winston at quarterback. And besides Mike Evans, they don't have really any weapons on offense. And then if you look at their defense, yes, they have Levante David. But besides him, they're relying heavily on the rookie they drafted, Devin White, to make up for the rest of their defense. And I don't think it'll be enough. And besides them, their talent on their defense is very bad. And I think they will struggle heavily this season, going 3-13, getting the 1st pick in the draft, and drafting Tua Tagovailoa with the 1st pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. Finishing 3rd, I have the Carolina Panthers going 7-9. The Panthers do have a very good defense with Luke Kuechly leading them with the middle linebacker spot and a beefy defensive line. They do have Cam Newton at quarterback, who is pretty much a running back, but he has had issues with his shoulder and now his foot over the past 2 seasons, and I think that will carry on and be a distraction, and they will not be able to get a above 500 record and will finish 7-9. In second place, I have the Atlanta Falcons. This is my dark horse in the NFC. I have them going 10-6. They have a very high potent offense that is very hard to stop. They have 3 very capable wide receivers and a very good pocket passing quarterback in Matt Ryan. They have what I think the best wide receiver in football in Julio Jones. They still have Devontae Freeman. They have a good tight end in Austin Hooper. And I think their offense will be top 3 this season. If you look at their defense, they have one of the fastest defenses in the NFL, led by Deion Jones, the fastest linebacker in the NFL. And they have a very quick and aggressive safety in Keanu Neal. They still have Desmond Trufant. And they have good pass rushers that are very young and will develop over this season. And in first place, I have the New Orleans Saints going 12-4 with the number 1 seed in the NFC. They still have Drew Brees, the future Hall of Famer at quarterback. They still have Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, who just got that check, $100 million. They still have Cameron Jordan on defense. They do have Eli Apple and Marshawn Lattimore at the corner position. And they do have a very good kicker in Will Lutz. Moving on to the NFC West. In fourth place, I have the Arizona Cardinals going 4-12. The number 1 pick, Kyler Murray, I think will struggle a lot this season. He is very short and he does not have a very good offensive line. He does have David Johnson, but that is about it to help him out. His defense is not very good, so he's not going to have much help there either. And I think the Cardinals will struggle a lot this season, which is a good learning lesson for Kyler Murray. And they will go 4-12. In third place, I have the San Francisco 49ers going 6-10. I don't think Jimmy G has enough weapons this season to succeed completely in a very stacked NFC. And I think him and George Kittle will stat stuff and be very good fantasy players this year. When you look at their defense, they do have many first-rounders all across that defensive line who will take time to develop, and they could become a very good defense in the coming years. But I do not think they're there yet, and they will finish 6-10. Next, in second place, I have the Seattle Seahawks going 8-8. I think the offensive line will struggle to protect Russell Wilson this season, and their offense will not be as good as it was in the previous 2 or 3 seasons, and they will not be able to clutch out and make the playoffs and will finish 8-8. In first place in the NFC West, I have the Los Angeles Rams going 11-5. They are stacked with talent on the offense and defense, led by Jared Goff and the mastermind, Sean McVay. I think Jared Goff will continue to have another good season with weapons such as Brandon Cooks, Todd Gurley, CJ Anderson, and a determined coming off injury Cooper Kupp will help Goff this season. And lastly, the NFC East. In fourth place, I have the Washington Redskins going 4-12. Starting Case Keenum will make the Redskins lose many games early on. And then when they put Dwayne Haskins in, they're going to learn that they do not have much talent on the offensive side of the football. Their wide receivers are not very good. Their offensive line is even worse, especially with Trent Williams holding out and not wanting to play for the trainers of the Redskins because he says they do not treat him right. Jordan Reed being injured will continue to hurt them. And yes, on defense, they do have Landon Collins, who they overpaid. I do not see this football team winning a lot of games, and I see them finishing 4-12. And yes, losing to the Giants twice. In third place, I do have my Giants finishing 7-9. There's two possible scenarios for the Giants this season. One, Eli does really good. The Giants win a lot of games, and Daniel Jones does not see the field. Or the second one, the Giants are not very good by the bye week, which is week 10, and Daniel Jones gets to start. And that's the one that I think will happen. I think the Giants will be around 4-8, 4-9 at the bye week, and Daniel Jones will get the start, and the Giants will finish 7-9. With their future at quarterback in Daniel Jones. Next, in second place, I have the Cowboys going 8-8. This all depends on how long and if Ezekiel Elliott will hold out. I do think he will hold out a couple games of the season, which will hurt them, and will be the main reason why I do not see them making the playoffs this year. They do still have a very good defense, with DeMarcus Lawrence getting a bunch of sacks on the defensive line, good linebackers with Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, and they do have Byron Jones at the corner position. But I do not think it will be enough to make the playoffs and overcome who I have at number 1 of the NFC East, which is the Philadelphia Eagles, going 10-6. They do have Carson Wentz, who is the only quarterback in the NFC East as a Giants fan that I am worried about. They do have a dominant defensive line, a dominant offensive line. They did get back Deshaun Jackson, who as a Giants fan I am scared of. They do have Alshon Jeffrey and Zach Ertz, and they just got Jordan Howard at the running back position. And they do have a good young kicker in Jake Elliott, and I think they will cruise to a 10-6 record. Now that we are done with the divisional predictions and rankings, it's time for my full Super Bowl prediction. Before the season starts, I have, coming out of the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs with the best offense in the league. And coming out of the NFC, I have the Chicago Bears with the best defense in the league. I think this will be the matchup in Super Bowl 54. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.